on one thing, and we will get right back with you. All right, we are back. I told you that would be very quickly. Just looking for some of our trivia questions for this hour. So if you're just joining us, every hour we do 2 different trivia questions throughout the hour. And if you've stayed with us for quite a while, you already know that. So the way that you do that is you call 785-621-4110. I'm going to read that question to you. If you call in and you get it right, then we will put your name in a drawing for a $50 gift certificate to Messenger Traditional Catholic Books and Gifts. Jerome and Angela Schmeidler are the owners there. They are wonderful people. Please support them. So here we go. Your trivia question for the first part of the 1 o'clock hour is, what was traditionally sung in the temple in Jerusalem? Is it A, Psalms, B, the Song of Songs, or C, hymns? What was traditionally sung in the temple in Jerusalem? A, Psalms, B, the Song of Songs, or C, hymns? If you think you know that answer, call 785-621-4110. Give us your best shot at that. If you win, we'll get you put into that drawing, which we draw at 6 o'clock. If you would like to donate, please call 785-621-4110 or donate online at dvmercy.com. All right. We are blessed today for, well, all kinds of reasons. Thank God for all of those. But specifically right now, this hour, I want to thank St. Nicholas of Myra Parish and TMP-Marian because we're about ready to speak with Jake Brady and Mia Lang, both students at TMP. I'm on here able to do this, one, because I got to teach both of these wonderful young people. So we know each other, and it makes it kind of a great interaction to have that knowledge. Plus, I went on the trip with them. So St. Nicholas of Myra, my parish priest, Father Damien, I talked to him about coming back in yesterday, and he said, well, as long as you get your work done. So thank you, Father Damien. Thank you, St. Nicholas, for letting me be here. But thank you, Thomas More Prep Marian, for letting these two wonderful people be here, because, there was even a little bit of confusion as to that they were coming here today, as I find out. So because a certain teacher who will name unnamed, forgot to tell the office that they were coming to do this, they had to run around and do it. So first off, I think whichever teachers they have that they're missing their class, I'm pretty sure they need some extra credit just for the stress they had to go through. I mean, let's just give them some extra credit, and maybe also like a free pass on whatever you're doing today. I mean, just give them 100 on it, right? And now that it went out on the airwaves, like, who's going to get to argue with me? If you're arguing with me, well, sorry, I've got the mic here. So anyway, without further ado, I want to congratulate Michelle Dunnigan. She is our trivia winner. We'll get your name put in there. And I want to welcome on Mia Lang and Jake Brady. How are you guys doing today?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, that was very quick, huh? All right. So, and we all just got back from NCYC. Most people have a general idea of what it is, but what does NCYC stand for, and where is it held at?
NCYC stands for National Catholic Youth Conference, and it is held in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Okay, Jake, you have anything you want to add to that?
The majority of it kind of takes place in the Lucas Oil Stadium where the Indianapolis Colts play, which was really cool because it's really cool. And then it also takes place in the Indianapolis Convention Center.
Yep, fantastic. So, have either of you been before?
I've been before.
Okay, so Mia has been before.
Mm-hmm.
Jake, this is your first time going.
Yep.
All right, so I know why I came back. I got to go 2 years ago with my oldest son. Came back this time with 2 of my boys. But I'm more interested in knowing, Mia, what brought you back for the second time? Because many people will experience something once and then be like, yeah, I'm good. But if you come back for a second time, there's definitely something that draws you there. And then Jake, when Mia's done, what is it that made you want to go to this experience?
Firstly, just the large presence of people that are there. You have thousands of youth that are there from all over the United States. And just to see that we are all there to celebrate our faith and for our love of God. And that just is such a beautiful thing to see so many people there all for the same reason. And so there's just such a presence of Christ there in everything that you do. You can really feel that he's there with you the whole time. And just how individualized the whole conference is. You can spend, there's like breakout sessions. And so you get to pick almost what you want to get out of it. You can go to certain breakout sessions that you like and experience different speakers, different talks, do different activities. So it's every time you go is such a different experience because you get to experience just all sorts of things that you want to and just get to dive in. And it's just having our faith in school so frequently. This is just such a different thing than just getting to go to religion class every day. It's such a big, I don't know. It's so awesome. It's just a big event that we go to, and it's so powerful. And I will definitely continue to go back if I can go back as a sponsor. I think that'd be such a great experience. So
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Jake, what about you?
So for me, I guess a little bit of it was for sure fear of missing out. FOMO was a lot of it because I had a lot of friends that had went 2 years ago, and they all said it was like incredible and amazing. So I really wanted to go. And then also this was, I guess, both of our last chances to go since it's held every 2 years in Indianapolis. But then also over the summer, I went to One Bread One Cup, which is like a smaller conference.
Yeah.
And basically that had also motivated me to basically get more engaged in my faith. And I also found this is another way to be able to be more engaged.
Yeah, I think that may be the first time I've actually heard FOMO used in a positive context. Like usually it's like, I don't want to make a commitment, so I'm not going to do it. There might be something better coming along. But this was actually like, man, I've heard a lot of people say good things about this. And so I want to do it. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. So Mia, you hinted at, being around people. So let's be honest. Our Catholic schools are awesome, but if you go to a daily mass at TMP, sometimes you may find that the responses or the singing might be a little bit lacking.
Mhm.
That's just the truth,
Yeah.
right? Did either of you make the mass, the morning mass on Saturday morning with the bishop?
Yes,
Mhm.
I read
Yeah.
at mass on Saturday morning. So I was
Yes.
definitely
Yep, you
it
were.
was awesome.
Which, by the way, how did you get picked to do that?
I actually left my room key in my room. And so I went to Mandy Mayer and asked if I could get another one. And Bill was sitting next to her and said, "Hey, would you be at mass tomorrow?"
Oh, look at those
So,
Holy Spirit
yeah.
moments.
I lost my room key and then I just got asked because I lost my room key. So it was
That is
actually
fantastic.
it was a funny experience. I thought he was
Yeah.
going to yell at me for losing my room key.
But
But instead, he asked me to read a mass.
absolutely. So I ask about it because those of you who didn't go, our bishop, he got to say a mass, and it was a daily mass in a church that was very close to Lucas Oil Stadium, which is where we always started our day and ended our day. And so there were a lot of our diocesan members that went to that mass. But I noticed something very different about that mass, where a lot of our diocesan members were as compared to maybe a daily mass at school. Did you guys notice that at all?
Yeah, I noticed that pretty much everyone there was super engaged. The responses were basically booming in that church. And yeah, it was definitely different because I think the thing that was different is that everyone that was there had wanted to be there, had to make a commitment to be there rather than just being at school and were kind of forced to go. They wanted to be there.
Yeah, especially
Yeah.
it was an early wake up time because we had to go before we went to
Yeah.
our opening session. So, and that's just even with NCYC, what makes it so powerful is everyone who is there wants to be there and they took the commitment to be there. So that's what makes it so powerful. And everyone is singing, everyone's participating because you're surrounded with people who all want to be there and they care.
Yeah,
And that's what at mass you could totally tell that
Mm-hmm.
it
absolutely.
was very present.
Yeah, sometimes when we're here, and it's not just at school, it can be everywhere, but sometimes when we're here, sometimes the responses, you kind of want to turn around and be like, Jesus, everybody dead?
Mhm. Yeah.
I think my child is louder than everybody here. And so, but there, I think it was at the Great Amen. Oh
my
my
God.
goodness, you couldn't even hear yourself say it. It was
Yeah.
so loud. And I'm just like, wow, that we're blowing the roof off this place, and go ahead, Jake.
Plus the echo in Lucas Oil was crazy because we were only using like half of it.
Oh,
So there
yeah.
was just a whole like the open section in the back there. It was just a big echo.
Yep.
Just coolest thing ever.
It was, I had somebody on that I was interviewing earlier. Well, actually it was Bill this morning when him and I were talking. Yeah. And we both said the same thing that, I've never been to a football game there before. But just the noise that people made for their love of Christ was like, especially as an adult, that does my heart pretty good. So I want to break in here very quickly and thank Father Richard Days, who was just on the radio. He gave $250, and because of our matching funds, that becomes $500. I know. Let's do a little clap there.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, Father, thank you, Richard. Thank you, Father Richard. I get a little tongue-tied every now and then there. I did that in class too. But thank you so very much, Father. We appreciate it. And thank you for your witness. I want to get right back. You guys are listening to Divine Mercy Radio's Fall Care-a-Thon. And we are on here with a couple of young people who went to the NCYC I almost called it a concert, but conference. Thank you. That's the big word I was looking for. The conference here just the other week. And as we came back from that, we thought it'd be nice to get them on here and ask them some questions just about the trip and everything else. So I want to shift gears just a little bit. Pun intended.
Yeah.
You get that because I want to ask about the bus ride. So some people out there are rolling their eyes like, oh, come on. But anyway, the bus ride is, when we talk about going to this conference, it's not like we load up on a plane and just fly there, or each of our families just drives us in our nice, comfy vehicles. And, we're riding on these buses, and you're two to a seat in every bus or in every seat, and so it can be less like a vacation, and more like we finally made it. So what are you guys' thoughts on, even though the bus ride can be difficult, sleep is ridiculous. Did you guys enjoy the bus ride? Was there anything memorable that happened? Give us any of your thoughts about that part of the trip.
Well, my unpopular opinion, I actually enjoy the bus rides for NCYC and March for Life when I go to that. You get to engage with everyone around you the whole way there. So it makes, you have new friends that you meet when you're on the bus. Jake and I were on the same bus. So I don't know what. You were our bus
captain, whatever.
I don't know what happened on the other bus, but I know whoever sat around me, we played different card games. We just talked. We had two girls who were I think they were from Quinter High School, and they sat by us. So we really got to know them. So that was awesome. A fun experience just to get to know. And then during the whole conference, I had a different group of people that I got to stick by. But it's really fun. You do get very poor sleep.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely.
But you feel like you're taking 8 different naps all throughout the whole entire bus ride. But I think it's worth it for everything you get out of it. It adds a little bit of excitement.
Absolutely.
I'm going to argue with you on that. I slept phenomenally on that bus.
Are you serious?
How?
I put my pillow on the floor, put my blanket on the floor. Perfect. You're so it's the seats and then
I don't know if you're supposed to do that, but keep going, Jake.
It's fine. What are they gonna do now? No, sleeping on the floor of the bus was probably the best way to get sleep. I think one of the coolest things that we did on the way there is throughout the whole conference, you bring clothespins. And you can decorate them, draw on them. A lot of us put social medias on them to connect with people from wherever they were at. And throughout the entire trip, you have to clip people without them knowing is the whole entire thing. So if you were walking behind someone that you didn't know, you'd clip their bucket hat they were wearing or something like that. And on the way there, that's what we did a lot is we would make those clothespins. So we had them for the conference. One of my least favorite things is stopping every 4 hours in the middle of nowhere, and having to get everyone off the bus, then get back on, get comfortable again. That was part.
Yeah, I think
I can't see.
Yeah,
you're where am I at? I can't see. Where are my shoes? And now I have to get off and go inside.
Or when your phone doesn't work and you try to look on the map where you're at, and you just don't know. So
Yeah.
half the time you're just
What state are we
trusting
in?
the bus driver.
Welcome back to the age when I grew up and there was
Yeah.
no GPS.
Yeah.
Like, wow, I'm dating myself now. But no, I agree with you guys. I think that part of the process is, and I've learned to do that too, is just realize that you just have to go into it going, I'm not going to get good sleep, except for Jake.
Yeah, if you're Jake, you
unless
get
you're
great
Jake,
sleep.
you'll get great sleep. But if you go into it knowing that, then you're just like, so what? I'm going to live through it. But you're right. There's lots of cool things that can happen, and people you can meet. Are there people you guys met, either on the bus? So just people from our community. You hinted a little bit at some people from another community, or during the conference that you guys met that you really kind of forged some friendships with that maybe now you'll carry those on afterwards.
So for me on the bus, I kind of knew everyone that was on my bus, but it was kind of nice to because a lot of them I just kind of been just surface level friends with. Hadn't really had many deep conversations or anything with them. But then throughout the time of the bus ride, you really got to know them. And then throughout the conference, I won't say you met as many or at least I didn't meet as many new people, just because everyone's in their own community, their own diocese.
Sure.
But I will say I got really close with the group of guys that I was with. So we had our group. Every group had 3 or 4 people in it. I got really close to people in my group, just because we basically did everything with each other for 3 days straight. So I think that was one of the biggest friendships that I really had throughout the trip.
No, that is really cool because you'll bring that back, and then I'm going to let Mia talk here, and then maybe add some other thoughts to it because I don't want to steal anything she might want to say.
Yeah, so I, like Jake said, I knew everyone who I sat around on the bus, but they weren't people that I would commonly hang out with throughout the day. But even since I got back, I've been like, oh, I had a great time with that person. I'll text them, see if they want to go do this. So it's been a really great chance to get to make new friends and get to know people. And while I was at the conference, I met quite a few people that weren't from our diocese and that had pinned me. And I was like, oh, this person looks cool. And I found out that most of them were people that I shared all the same interests with. And I didn't even know that I shared any of them until I started having a conversation and talking with them. And even my group, it was split. There was 2 TMP students, and then there was 2 Hayes High students that were in my group. So it was really good. I knew who they were, but it was good to get to know them below or on a different level, not just on the surface. I really got to know what they liked and just all sorts of things about them. And that's the great thing is even the people you go on the trip with, you really get to know. It's not just new people that you meet at the conference.
So I'm going to throw something at you guys here. Sometimes we come in with some preloaded questions and stuff, so especially for people who have not been in here before. I know Jake's been in here before. Actually, I think both of you probably been in here, but it helps a lot of people out. But this is one that I'm just going to throw at you that you guys don't know about. So, what changes though between you and somebody when you find out this person loves the Lord? Do you understand what I'm saying? There's something different when you have a friendship with someone or an acquaintance with someone, and then you go to something like this and you're like, oh my goodness, they are on fire. What is that for you guys? And what's the difference coming back from that? Does that change relationships? Does it help it? Can you guys speak to that at all?
Yeah, I definitely think it changes, especially when you get to experience something like that with some of your best friends. You're both just on, like you said, on fire, just with everything that has happened. But I noticed that some of the people who were in my room who I knew were Catholic, knew had their faith, but when you get to meet them, it just opens up such a whole new area for conversation where you can just really just let anything out there and you really just get to experience in such a new way. And it's so beautiful when you meet someone that also loves the Lord because it's just something that you have in common. And it's something that's so great to have in common with someone.
Wow.
I think for me, I think it's one of the coolest things ever. Just because you're able to talk to them about any sort of I don't necessarily want to say problems you might have, but just any sort of dilemma, just because. So I work, at my work, I work with a bunch of people that don't share the same faith as me. But so I can't really talk about my faith as much openly as I can. But it's so nice to have friends who believe the exact same thing. And especially when you can really tell that they're on fire for the Lord, it's like that's when you can really have the deep conversations about your faith and really learn about them. Like one of my favorite things too was I learned like a bunch of people's favorite Bible verses. And so as soon as I got home, my Bible was just full of all these like sticky notes
Oh
of
wow.
like whose favorite verse was this. Like that's the coolest thing ever.
That is the coolest thing,
Yeah.
I think, because a lot of times, we don't just readily go around like, "Hey, dude, what's your favorite Bible?"
Mhm.
Yeah.
Maybe we should, but and so there's several things you guys said that I think I would key on. There is one is we want to immerse ourselves in the culture, and share our faith where we can, but like you said, Jake, we need to have those moments where we're like, okay, I'm not the only one out there. And I'm not trying to say that like we're sitting here walking saints, but sometimes, you're trying to strive in the spiritual life. And yet you're just like, sometimes you're like, am I the only one that believes this way?
And
And go ahead.
one other nice thing is that with them, you didn't have to explain every little detail of the faith, and they just get it. They just get it, basically. Like that's the biggest thing is like you can talk about it without every like 5 seconds being like, what's this? Like what? Like why do you guys do this? Like it's I don't know. It's just having the mutual understanding of the faith really helps.
Well, and
Yeah,
for
that's
me, it's
awesome.
helped me prioritize finding friends that share the
Mhm.
same faith. Like, yes, you can get something from a friendship that you don't share the same faith, but especially with me going into college, I very prioritized. I want to find a roommate who shares the same faith as me and experiences the same things because I can learn so much from her experiences and she can give me advice. And just when you meet someone who shares the same faith, you can really help each other enhance what you're
Yeah.
experiencing in that. So
Absolutely. And we've got these young people in here giving us their time. And thank you guys very much for being here. But also for myself, I find the same thing that, there were parents that I met up with, and we do the same thing as adults. Sometimes we don't say things because we're like, I don't know, and you meet up with other adults and the same type of thing. You're like, wow, this person is way more on fire than I am. I want some of what they got. And so that's pretty cool to forge those relationships and have them carry on. Then let's shift gears a little bit once again, and we're going to go to asking you guys about. Can you give us kind of a rundown on? All right, we're on the bus. We get there. We pull up. We go in. Get checked in and everything. Then what happens? You hit the ground running, and tell us, what does it look like?
So every morning and night, you have an opening session, your morning session, you have a closing session. So typically everybody would wake up in the morning, get breakfast, and then you'd walk from the convention center to Lucas Oil Stadium. And that's where you'd have your morning general session. And at that, you'd have bands that would play, you would have speakers. We had amazing MCs that would kind of just preface everything that was going to happen and just were there with us along the way. And then once you get out of your morning general session, you walk back to the convention center where you have breakout sessions. They're typically scheduled like 11:30, 1:30, and 3:30. And there's about 5 or 6 that you can choose from at each time slot. Some of them repeat. And then from there, there's also a big room called the Village. At least that's what we called it 2 years ago. And it has a lot of things, all sorts of things. You have different booths from colleges. You have booths to like buy things. You have different Catholic organizations and things like that, and activities to do there. And then later in the evening, you'd have a closing session that'd be similar with music and speakers and all sorts of things like that.
And one of the things about like the days is that the breakout sessions were so personalized. You could choose where you wanted to go, and like you could have honestly chosen to not go to any of the breakout sessions if you didn't want to. But I mean, like you're not getting
But
anything
why
out
would
of
you?
it. Yeah, why
not
would
getting
you?
anything out of it.
But like it's so personalized because like I went to ones that sounded interesting to me, other than like there were some other ones that I weren't as interested in that like it was just nice having the choice. And then also with my group, like for like lunch and like dinner and stuff, we'd walk to the nearby restaurants. Like there was a Steak and Shake nearby. There was a Yard House nearby, just like Buffalo Wild Wings, just a whole bunch of restaurants like right in that little area. They were all packed, but they were all packed because there's so many people there. But yeah, basically like you can just choose what you want to do throughout the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I find the same thing too. And it's nice that both days they have the same lineup, so that if there are two of them where you're like, oh, they're at the same time, what do I do? Like, you can just go to and then, as they mentioned, if you went to one day and there's really nothing to interest me, go to the Village, buy yourself some Saint socks and
Yeah.
and they do actually have quite a few pretty cool things going on there.
Yeah.
Some really neat vendors.
There were
And stuff
different
like that.
there were monks and nuns there with their different
Yeah.
orders, I think is the right word.
Uh-huh.
They were there kind of like, I guess not recruiting, but you got to kind of learn more about them.
Yeah.
I think One Bread, One Cup was there. Different like other conferences visited that you could also go to.
Yeah,
They
absolutely.
had karaoke. We sang karaoke.
Did you really sing?
Yes.
What did you sing?
I want it that way.
Okay. Did it go well?
It was okay.
All right.
It went well, but I'm not the singer, so it was very just like, I'll just kind of sing, and if you're a good singer, you sing really loudly.
Yes.
So
I'm not either. I think they would have been like, next.
we tried to get Father Andy to sing with us. He's like, I'll watch. I was like,
Oh,
no, you should have
man.
sang with us.
Father Andy, if you're listening, come on, man up. So, all right. I want to get to, you guys talked about those breakout sessions. As we get to choose our own, sometimes you go to one and you're like, it was all right, but sometimes you go to one and you're like, I really got something from that. Did you guys find that any of the sessions you went to was one of those that is going to have a change in your life, and maybe how would that be?
So I went to one. It was by Gian Gamboa, I think that's how you say his name. We talked about 3 ways to grow your faith life in all stages of life. So basically, he used stories from his own life to teach us, which I really like because I'm a big fan of real world examples.
Yeah.
And then one thing that stuck with me were the three ways. So the 3 ways were: find your people, embrace the struggle, and talk to Jesus.
Okay.
And then another one of the things that he said is that each day you should give 1% to Jesus, which, if you do all the math, it comes out to about 15 minutes a day. So he basically said that, like, to talk to Jesus, just give him 1% of your day, and you'll see a change by giving him that small little 1%.
Wow. I can imagine what now find the people probably means, like find your people probably means like make yourself some good friends.
Yeah, find
All
people
right.
that draw you closer to the Lord, that have like similar beliefs, but then also ones that challenge you to become a better Catholic.
Oh, absolutely. Wow. So find your people. What was the other one?
Embrace the struggle.
Embrace the struggle. And then
It was talk to Jesus.
all right. What do you think, or what did they say embrace the struggle really meant?
So he used this analogy where him and his friends went through like this this really tough obstacle course. I'm not really sure what it's called.
That's okay.
But
Summarize it for
yeah.
us.
He used that. But basically what his overall message for embrace the struggle is that you might find yourself like almost there to be able to give like if you're struggling finding 15 minutes in your day, you might find yourself almost there, like given 10 minutes. But it's basically just to trying to think of words.
No, here, I'll throw something in there while you
Yeah.
think of that word, because so as Jake's talking about this, and you're saying 1%, I'm sitting there thinking like, good Lord, I can't give 1% of my day to the Lord. I mean, good Lord, seriously, because he is. But yeah, 15 minutes. Sometimes I do struggle to give that 15 minutes. And I am going through a book with a men's group I'm in. I know Bill Mayer has read it, and several other people in the diocese. I mean, they're good and things that maybe are a challenge in it, but definitely the message is good because he throws out some statistics of how many times we even just look at our phone in a day. And then, just like, okay, if I would turn, kind of maybe what you're saying, if I would turn a few of those instances, not that I'm just going to like chuck my phone in the trash can or anything, but just a few of those instances, if I can turn those into, okay, rather than looking at my phone, let's just say a Hail Mary, like that's really not that many instances where you just give a minute or 2 of your day to the Lord. And then what would that do if we did change just those few instances into a time to become closer to God rather than a time to Well, that's stupid.
So-
And so go ahead.
I kind of remember what he said now.
Okay.
Basically, by embrace your struggle, he basically kind of also alluded it to Jesus' struggle on the cross. So it's like, if he can go through that, if he can go through torture, like literally dying for us, then we can struggle a little bit. Like basically we can give him that 1% and just basically embrace any problems that we might have if he can literally die on a cross for us.
Take up your cross and follow me.
Mhm.
Yeah, us Catholics have been saying that for years. When are we going to get it?
Yeah.
All right. Mia, what about you?
I went to a talk titled Gift and Grit, and it was by Sarah and Andrew Swafford. I went on the Saturday session, so I got to listen to talk by Andrew Swafford instead of Sarah.
Okay.
But I got a lot from it. He just kind of talked about his experience playing football in college and just his experience being a professor at Benedictine. And he broke down just a lot of stuff he broke down the virtues at first. So just like I knew that what they were, but I didn't know necessarily the real world version of them. I kind of just knew like, okay, this is what the Bible defines them as, but I never knew how they related like to our lives. And he also talked about just during football how, and this really related to me being in high school, how we give everything for the small things that we experience in high school, and we think that that is like the high point of our lives, like winning a football game or winning state or things like that. We think that this is like, okay, nothing can ever get better than this in our life. And you just get older and you experience, if you put yourself close to God, that you can experience so much more than just we won a high school football game or we went to state. Like there's so much more to life, but sometimes it's hard to find when you're so on the path of worldly things rather than on the path of what's going to lead you to good through God. And that I really got a lot from that. So
yeah, I listened to his talk also. I actually heard it the first day when both him and his wife talked.
Mhm.
But the part you're talking about is so good for a lot of people to hear, because he was getting inducted into his high school Hall of Fame or something like that, him and one other guy. And he said the other guy came up before him and was telling the kids, these are the best days of your life. If you win this, you're never going to forget it. And he said he remembers in his own mind going, I have to go up and just destroy everything this guy just said. And it is a great point, because if we are sitting there looking at like, wait a minute, high school is the pinnacle of everything. Like, oh my goodness, really?
Yeah.
All of that struggle and all of that nastiness. And I'm not saying that there aren't great things that happen in high school, but yeah, that is kind of depressing to look at it like that and be like, so that's it, huh? So now I just work and die. So yeah, great point. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm going to cut in really quick with a trivia question. You are listening to Divine Mercy Radio with our fall Care-a-Thon. His mercy endures forever. If you want to call in and try to answer this trivia question correctly, call 785-621-4110. If you are the first person to call in and get it correct, we'll put your name in a $50 or in a drawing for a $50 gift certificate to Messenger Traditional Catholic Books and Gifts, and that's downtown Hayes, right off of Main Street. Jerome and Angela Schmeidler are the owners and operators of that. So here we go. Your second trivia question for the 1 o'clock hour is, even before the building of the Temple of Solomon, 10 centuries before Christ, local prophets made use of what? Is it A, musical bands, B, small pianos, C, harmonicas, or D, accordions? Even before the building of the Temple of Solomon, which was 10 centuries before Christ, local prophets made use of what? A, musical bands, B, small pianos, C, harmonicas, or D, accordions. Call 785-621-4110 if you have that answer. Also call 785-621-4110 to donate, or you can go to dvmercy.com. If you have a question for either of these young people, as we're in here talking with Jake Brady and Mia Ling, call 785-621-5061 or text 785-656-0150. We don't get a lot of questions for our guests, but that would be great, especially if you guys are listening to this and you're like, hey, I'd like to hear their point on something. These are two young people. These are the church. One thing that I heard at NCYC was, These young folks aren't the future of the church. They are the church. And that's very true. And so call them or call us, give us a question. But without too much more of me talking, I'm going to get back to them. Mia, Jake, what was the most enjoyable thing for you at NCYC? Most memorable, most enjoyable, however you want to put it, most moving thing, or if there's several, one in each category, you know, however you want to put it, what stood out most to you guys?
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of adoration, but adoration at NCYC is just a whole nother level of experiencing. And you get to experience it in a place full of 12,000 other people who are also getting to serve in adoration with you. And that in itself is such a great experience. But I have kind of been struggling recently to just open my whole self to God. I'm like, oh, being a sister's cool, but like that's not for me. Please don't call me to that. Like I've always just been against it, which you shouldn't be. You should be very open, but that's something I've struggled with. So I was like, okay, this is my time in adoration. I'm just gonna like tell God that help me to be what you want me to be, whatever it is, just open my heart to feeling just calm and at ease in whatever you tell me to do. And my heart just started to race and I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And the music's playing and I was like, Lord, just open my heart and let me be at ease with what you call me to be. And I just like, for a moment, just felt like I was just floating. I was like, okay, this is God being very present in my life right now and really transforming me. And then the music started up again and I just felt so relaxed and so at ease and nothing else really in my life mattered at that moment. Like I wasn't focused on what schoolwork I had to get back to or what I was going to do. Like it was just in that moment, just getting to experience with God. And I think that's such an amazing thing that I don't necessarily get from, I go to adoration at school, but it's something different that you get to experience when you're in front of so many people. And it was just so transforming. And I have always had great adoration experiences at NCYC. And that's also what kind of just keeps me coming back is the experience that I have during things like that. So
Yeah, I'm going to let Jake go before I say anything.
Yeah.
So I think one of my favorite overall things is music was involved in literally everything there, which for me, I'm a very musically inclined person. So it was amazing. I loved the music, kept me really engaged in everything. I even have like a little notes on my phone of the songs.
The last
I'm
song,
like, because I'm just like a nerd like that. And then
It's okay to be a nerd for Christ, Jake. It's all
yeah.
right.
and then one of my other things was so closing mass. It was like 3 hours long. The homily was like a whole hour, but I think I was attentive for that entire 3 hours, which like usually like sometimes if the homily goes a little long here in our home parishes, I get a little bored. So it was really cool, and I could definitely like feel something changing, like God present when I was attentive for that entire 3 hours. And then one like small little detail about NCYC that I really loved is after you went to confession, they gave you a little sticker that said "I'm forgiven" that you could put like wear anywhere, which I thought was really cool. Just because I mean I don't know, it's just cool, but it's also cool to like let people know it's like I went to confession, and it's also kind of a challenge to them. You should go too.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So many things that can come from your guys' thoughts. That is awesome because we how do I say this? I mean, first off, you know, we don't want to chase experiences in our faith, but there is something real about the experiences that we do have. And so we don't want to discount them either. You know, yeah, we don't want to go to mass every time and be like, well, the music didn't move me, so the mass didn't work, you know? And like, because Jesus always shows up at the mass, regardless of whether the homily's terrible, the music's terrible, Jesus is always there. You know, so we acknowledge that, but there is something to be acknowledged in those moments, especially. And I think part of it may be, you know, as you were talking to me, something that really struck me was that there's a part in the scriptures where it says, and Jesus couldn't work any miracles there because of their lack of faith. And so I think there is something real about being around those many people that are like, no, I love my faith and I want to show it. So it's not just a heightened emotionalism, but those moments are blessings no, we shouldn't live by those moments, but we should absolutely be so blessed and so thankful for those moments because you're right. Like sometimes we may be in adoration and, the atmosphere around us is like, there's people snoring, and I'm talking somewhat about at school adoration sometimes, and I mean, not everybody's into it. And sometimes that does kind of, unfortunately, it does bring down our own psyche, and then we're not as attentive to Christ. Whereas if we're around a bunch of people who love their faith, it's so much easier to just be like, okay, we're human, right?
Mhm.
So we worry about being judged, right? Even in adoration. But in a situation like that, you can just let your guard down and let Christ be Christ. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it helps you have more of an appreciation. Ever since the first time I went to NCYC, that's where I really fell in love with going to adoration because I found the appreciation that I felt for what I experienced, and it was just so beautiful.
Yeah.
Kind of
Wow.
one thing that I want to add, kind of going back to when you were saying like how it changes having like your friends also be on fire for the Lord. That also helps you in adoration. Like you're surrounded by people that also like are letting their guard. Like no one is judging anyone there, and it's
Yeah.
like since we're all so deeply immersed in Jesus, there, it's like no one even has the headspace or time to even think about anyone else.
Yep. That is awesome. I am going to take a very quick break. I don't see that we have a trivia winner. I'd almost let these two answer it, but being that the answer is sitting right here in front of them, maybe not. So please call in to 785-621-4110. We still need a winner here. We need a winner, but also we need more of those pledges coming in because as a nonprofit, you guys are what drives this radio station. Years ago, 13 years ago, in fact, Lester and Danetta, they started up this radio station. Obviously, yes, we know it's because of the miracles and the mystery of Christ and Him working, but he chose to work through them. They started this radio station 13 years ago. They have helped it to grow into the 5 stations we have, and we want it to continue growing, to continue helping to save souls. So please call that same number, 785-621-4110. All right, here we go. The question is, even before the building of the Temple of Solomon, 10 centuries before Christ, local prophets made use of what? Was it A, musical bands, B, small pianos, C, harmonicas, or D, accordions? Even before the building of the Temple of Solomon, 10 centuries before Christ, local prophets made use of what? A, musical bands, B, small pianos, C, harmonicas, or D, accordions. Call 785-621-4110. And as we break back to Mia and Jake, I see we got a question here. So a question from a good friend. You guys probably know her, Allison Ochoa. She says, for those current 7th and 8th graders who will get their first chance to attend NCYC in 2 years, what would you tell them is your number one reason to participate in this opportunity? So they've hit a little bit on this, but maybe got some more thoughts.
So the number one reason to participate?
Yeah. Why would you go?
Honestly, I just kind of asked, like, why would you not go? You get to spend so many days just immersed in the Lord, and it's something so different than you experience at school. And it's just a beautiful thing that you and all your friends get to go and then bring all that back to school to transform what you have every single day in front of you. Like, since we've gotten back, it's really just transformed how I experience the Lord in my personal life, and it's something that you can carry out through the rest of your life. And it's just a question of, like, why not go? Because you get to spend so much time with the Lord, deepening your faith and growing your relationship with Him.
Yeah. So one thing, and then we're going to get to Jake's answer here. One thing is, yeah, it's not just adoration. It's not just mass. What else do we get? I mean, what other spiritual things do we get to take advantage of at NCYC?
You get to share with people around you with what you experience, and you get to listen to speakers, and you get to
go to reconciliation,
Yeah.
you know, and there also is, if you're more, you know, I'm kind of more of a contemplative person. I do love the adoration with music and stuff too. That's pretty awesome, and incense. But you know, sometimes I'm more of that contemplative person, and so I kind of just like the quiet, you know, and and so they have a chapel all on its own, open the entire time. You can just go in and spend time. And so the freedom to go, I can go to reconciliation, I can go to adoration, I can go to mass. We went to mass like 4 times in 2
That
days
doesn't
or
even
something.
feel like you went 4
No,
times.
No.
it doesn't. That is the thing, is you end up celebrating all these sacraments, and you're just like, and I want to do it some more. So Jake, if you would go.
I'll say there's no downside to going. The only negative thing that there might be, like quote unquote negative thing there might be, is the bus ride, and the bus ride's not even that
It's
bad.
not that bad.
It's
No.
not
But
bad.
so basically, there's no negatives to going. So I'd say the reason for going is that, like, especially if you were struggling in your faith life, right? Like before, if you had some sort of like anything happen that might have tested your faith life, this really helps you, like, know that it's all real, and that there's people there to help you, but then also that Jesus is just always present with you to help you. So, I mean, I'd just say, like Mia said, why not go? Like, there's really no negatives to going.
Absolutely. And, you know, Jake, as you say that, I think that sometimes people also get, like, with any of the conferences, they're kind of like, oh, well, yeah, those are those Jesus loving people anyway. Um, you know, I love what you said, Jake. Jake's like shaking his head. You guys can't see him on the
Yeah.
radio, but you can see him on YouTube, Facebook, or Rumble, which is where you can also find us. Shameless plug. But yeah, no, like none of us believe that we are walking saints. We're trying to be. But I know plenty of people who, you know, where you just kind of like, yeah, maybe. And sometimes they come back being the strongest in their faith. Do you guys have anything to say to that?
I think one thing that I'll add is, so especially I've gone to Catholic schools my entire life since kindergarten. And I think that, like, throughout that, you kind of fall into a habit of being like, oh, yeah, I think I believe this because I was taught it.
Uh-huh.
Where this really helps you, like, get out of that mindset. And now it's a lot more like, I believe it because I know it.
Yeah.
Rather than it's just like, oh, that's what my parents told me. It's more of like, I know that this is real. I know that this, like, that I have a chance for salvation, a chance for heaven.
Wow. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And a lot of people that I came encounter with that even went with us were kind of like, oh, I don't really want to go. I have a lot of work I'm missing. But then once they got back, they're just like, I'm so glad that I went. There's nothing that we have that you can experience that's really like NCYC. And sometimes it's hard to explain until you've experienced it yourself,
Sure.
and you can't really feel what it's like until you've went. But it's just such a great experience that you, and the habits you learn there, you bring back and you get to implement into your everyday life and really get to keep the faith strong when you come back, and it's more present, and that just helps you with anything you do.
Absolutely. Breaking in really quick to thank Ann Pfeiffer. She donated $50. And said you guys are doing great. So
Woo!
congrats
you.
to
Yes,
you too.
thank you.
Nice. Thank you, Ann. With our matching funds, that immediately became $100. I've been having to do math like all week long.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. Luckily, it's been pretty easy with the 50s and the hundreds and stuff. So thank you, Ann, for that. Keep those donations coming. 785-621-4110. We have about 10 minutes left with these young folks. If you have a question, by the way, thank you, Allison, for breaking open that question line. We don't have nearly enough people using it. If you have a quick question for them, 785-621-5061, or text at 785-656-0150. Or you may even be able to send something through on Facebook or wherever. Get a hold of us, send in that question. But let's get a little bit more time with Mia and Jake and see if they've got some more wisdom to impart on us about NCYC. So one of the greatest things I think that was ever told to me at a retreat was, you may have changed, but the world hasn't.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So when you get home, you're going to have all these bubbles. You're going to be flying high, and pretty soon people are going to start popping those balloons, you know, bah, 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 bah,
Yeah.
bah. and you may even backslide worse than before you went. So we get all on fire and we're like, yes, I'm going to go back and transform the world. And then we get back to the world and the world's like, okay, dude,
Yeah.
how do you guys deal with that? And what would you say, what advice would you give to, help keeping away from that happening, from the world bursting all your bubbles when you get back?
I say just keep close to those friendships that you formed at NCYC, because the people that you were with there, you all experienced and you felt that fire together. So when you get back, it's very important to stick with those people that you experienced with, because they can push you to not fall behind or backslide, like you mentioned. And just, I know the one thing for me that's really helped me is realize the importance of, like, you went because you wanted to be there and you thought it was important. So anytime you just find yourself to struggle, be like, this is important to me. And just really think, like, I'm growing my faith the more I implement what I learned at NCYC and bring back. And even if it's in the beginning, it's hard to be like, okay, I came back and I'm going to go tell 10 people about all the stuff I learned. It's very hard to do that. So just transforming yourself and being an example when you get back for other people to see is very important.
That's awesome. Mia says, get the band back together, you guys.
Mhm.
Yes. Jake, what do you say?
I'd say one of my things is I've really started implementing things that I learned. Like, as I said, the 3 points, like, give Jesus that 1% of your day. I've started doing that more often. Like if I'm driving to school, instead of playing music, I'd play a rosary or something on the way to school and pray with it.
Mhm.
Wow.
Or even just like, what was the other?
Listening to this radio station.
Yes.
Mhm.
While Jake's listening,
Yes.
while Jake's thinking of his other thing, I love music. Music is fantastic, but a lot of times I'm going through the dials, I'm like, dude, no, great, there's nothing on. But so which is why I mostly just and this may be a shameless plug because I'm on the board, and they allow me to be on here talking. But I really do. If you get into my truck right now, it's on 105.7. That's just mostly where it stays, because it is so very easy. I've got 5 minutes. I can either change the station and decide there's nothing on I want to listen to, or I can listen to something that may be soul edifying.
Or one thing that I found is, like, even when I'm doing so I love listening to music while I'm doing homework. On my Spotify, I have like this worship playlist, and I listen to that while I do my homework. I think it's just like, it's just the small things. Like, you don't need to go out every day and convert 10 people a day.
Yeah.
Like, I think first you need to start with yourself.
Absolutely.
Like, there's one Bible verse. It's like, take the something out of your eye before what's that one? You know it.
Take the beam out of your own eye before you try to remove the splinter out of your neighbor's.
You know it. Yeah. I think it's that. It's first, like, in NCYC helps you work on yourself, but I still think there's so much more left that you can do yourself while also trying to help others.
Yeah. And like you said, with just giving that like 1%, I've really came back and tried to get in the habit of, I'm going to pray a decade of the rosary while I'm driving to school. My drive is about 5 minutes. So by the time I get there, and then by the time the school week's over, I've prayed a whole rosary. And for me, just implementing those things where I even noticed when I got back from NCYC the next day and I was driving in my car, I had my usual playlist going and I was just not satisfied. I was just like, okay, you spent 4 days in the presence of the Lord and I have to hear this. Like, I was just kind of like,
that's so funny. I had the same experience.
It's just like, you're just not satisfied. And I just ended up turning it off and just sitting in silence. I was like, there's nothing that compares to what I just heard and what I listened to. And I am just filling myself with just not dumb music, but just kind of just random, just music that you're just plays in the background all the time. And I just feel like I can fill myself with better things than.
Yeah. I think it's like, with one thing is like, if you're just, after that, it's like, you're trying to like fill a void kind of, and it's about filling it with the right things, like listening to this radio.
Way to go, Jake.
Says it very loudly. This radio.
Just listening to things that can help you grow in your faith. Listening to music that's not like
harmful.
Yes. Yeah. Like listening to, just honestly, it's all about just the small things that you can change within your day to make you a better Christian Catholic.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was talking this morning with Father Gail Hammerschmidt, and he was saying, I'm not sure if is it Spotify now that does this thing where it can tell you basically what you've listened to throughout the
Yes,
year.
Spotify Wrapped.
Yes,
that
that's
just
what he was
came out.
talking
we were
about.
looking at yesterday.
Yeah, and so he said it's one real cool story that came out of it was a couple of people on campus there. He said are like in the top of the nation for having listened to the Rosary. like we don't all have to be in the top of the nation for listening to the Rosary, but I think these two young people have given us some good thoughts as to what can you do that takes 2 minutes, 5 minutes out of your day, because that's pretty cool. That where you can just say rather than listening to something that maybe is questionable, I'm going to put something good in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So. Final closing thoughts from either of you guys.
I would just say if you get the experience and the chance to go to NCYC, take it. And just don't go into it, like you said earlier, with the mindset of, I'm going to have to sit here on this bus ride and I'm going to have to hang out with whoever. Just go in with an open mind, because that's really when you get to experience everything that NCYC has to offer, when you just go in with an open mind and an open heart.
Awesome. Jake?
I'd say my last thing is any opportunity you get to go on like any sort of Catholic conference, like One Bread, One Cup, NCYC, mission trip, just any of those things, take the opportunity. Don't doubt can often get the best of us.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let it get the best of us. Pray about it. And oftentimes you'll find yourselves wanting to go and finding that it was a really cool experience and that you basically want to go back. Like you never want to leave, basically.
Have good FOMO.
Have
the fear of missing
Have
out
good
for a
FOMO.
good reason.
Awesome. Wow. We got a couple of young people in here spitting some wisdom. So thank you, Mia, Jake. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. I know people out there appreciate it. Michelle Schleier she just donated $100. Her and her daughter, yes, were on the NCYC trip. They loved a lot of it, mass and everything else. And she wanted to let you guys know that you're doing a great job, and also wants listeners to know the playlist for music for the entire weekend is on Spotify.
It is.
If they search for NCYC.
I've got it saved.
Know that.
Yes, me too.
Oh, all right.
I've got it saved in my notes. I've got it saved in my Spotify.
Yep.
It's everywhere.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, God bless you guys. Thank you so much. And remember, if you're one of their teachers, give them some extra credit. Let them out of the assignment today. And thank you, Thomas More Prep Marian. Thank you, St. Nicholas, for allowing us to be here. God bless you all and have a wonderful day. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You are